Yeah, hello guys. I happened to be reading a comment that came in from a user, from a person. I don't know if they're subscribed to my channel or not, but the person goes by the name of Stan. And I wanted to read their comment, and I think that their comment has a lot of merit. I think I think this kind of explains what's going on with Colorado Buffaloes and why particularly me. I'm sure there are others out there that have the same sentiments in regards to why the offense is heavily dependent upon the pass, already knowing that the offensive line is one of its weakest attributes of the team. And this guy named Stan made a comment about 2 hours ago on the video that I made with Shador was on the thumbnail, and it was about can the protection problem be fixed for Shador? That was the title of the video, something to that effect. And the guy named Stan-KJ8FQ, he made an important comment. I want to read the comment because it really resonated with me. As a matter of fact, it triggered something in my soul, to be honest with you guys, because I've always kind of had this in the back of my thoughts, but I didn't think that anybody else would think this. So because I have somebody who's operating on the same frequency that I have been operating on, I feel compelled to read the message so you guys can actually hear what's going on. All right, the guy named Stan said, in my opinion, the showcasing of Shador for the Heisman is the issue. And when he says it's the issue, it's pertaining to my video about why the offense is heavily pass first, like 95-97% pass plays. And you continue to run pass plays knowing that your offensive line is compromised. And then everyone's mad that Shador is getting blasted, but then everyone's pointing the finger at the offensive line. And my qualm was, use your running backs, run the ball more. So Stan is responding and saying that the showcasing of Shador for the Heisman is the issue, meaning that it's the issue because if you're showcasing Shador for the Heisman, then you're going to make sure that you pad his stats. Sort of kind of echoing what I've been saying, but I've never said it like this, and I haven't even gotten to the meat of what this guy wrote. And I think he has a lot of great points here on his comment. That's just the first sentence, folks. I haven't even got to the second sentence. And I'm already breaking down the first sentence. That's how profound this comment was to me. And this is why I'm reaching out to you guys that follow my channel to see exactly why this elicited an emotional response from me to actually respond. I was getting ready to go to bed, but I'm like, nah, I got to read this. I got to read this out to the people who follow me. He says, in my opinion, the showcasing of Shador for the Heisman is the issue. I was under the impression Coach Prime's objective in taking the Colorado University gig was to get Shador the Heisman and first pick in the draft. Now that has some merit. I know Sanders talked about he wanted to go where he was needed. He wanted to go to a team that was in the Power 5 conference, that was bad, that he is needed. He's needed. Prime is needed, but he also wants to go to a team that needs his quarterback, that needs his son. A team that's 1-11 is prime for that, no pun intended. A team that's 1-11 is ready to be taken over and ready for a complete overhaul, which is why Coach Prime came in saying that he's bringing in his Louis luggage, and a part of that Louis luggage was his son, Shador. So that makes sense that this guy Stan says he was under the impression that Coach Prime's objective in taking the Colorado job was to get Shador the Heisman and first pick in the draft. He's a father. I think I said that on an earlier video. Any father that coaches your son is going to want to put their son in the best position possible. So this does make sense. And earlier on in the football season, Shador was talked about as possibly winning the Heisman. It was him and Caleb. But I think now Penix, the quarterback for Washington State or Washington, I get those two teams mixed up. I think the quarterback for Washington, I think he may be front runner. He may be the front runner right now. But that's neither here nor there. But the point I'm making with this is that initially, I believe that Prime coming to Colorado, of course, he's getting an opportunity to coach, but you're bringing in your son and you can showcase him, get him to put up big numbers. And this is kind of why it doesn't make any sense to me why they continue to pass the ball so much. That's why I had to resort to padding Shador's stats. And I've been blaming Sean Lewis for this, but I'm gonna get to it later, that who's really to blame for this. I'm gonna get to that later. And perhaps I've been pointing the finger at the wrong person. It's not really Sean Lewis. Another person made a comment about that too, but I'm gonna get to that after this. So Stan says he was under the impression that Coach Prime's objective in taking the CU gig was to get Shador the Heisman and first pick in the draft. Wouldn't running the ball take away from the objective of why the Sanders family is there? That's an incredible question. It's stated in tongue-in-cheek fashion. He's stating it, he's not coming at me. He's making me think. That's why I love dialoguing and talking with critical thinkers. He's basically saying, I'm upset that they're not running the ball. And Stan is telling me, but if you understand the initial objective to get his son to Colorado to bolster his numbers so he can be recognized as a Heisman Trophy candidate and get him into the draft in the first round, why would you run the ball? Running the ball would take that opportunity away from the son to increase his statistics. So this guy Stan is onto something here. He said, wouldn't running the ball take away from the objective? And the objective meaning to allow Shador or give him the opportunity to be a front runner for the Heisman. Even if he doesn't win it, the fact that his name is being brought up amongst the possible candidates for the Heisman would be good enough for Prime. And that would get his son in the first round pick in the NFL draft. And that's some money. What father wouldn't want their son to be drafted in the first round? So that's a great point there by Stan. So he says, wouldn't running the ball take away from that objective of why the Sanders family's there? In my opinion, the coaching staff are equivalent to yes men. And this is when, every sentence this guy wrote spoke to my soul, man. Thank you, Stan, for this comment. He says every coach, in his opinion, the coaches there are equivalent to yes men. So it's starting to make sense. Initially, I didn't want to blame Prime. And if you look back at my other videos, I'm almost reluctant to call out Prime because I'm thinking, okay, he's the head coach. He leaves the offense to Sean Lewis. He doesn't really dibble and dabble in what they do. He kind of lets them do their thing. He doesn't micromanage. But at the end of the day, I kept thinking to myself, but he's the head coach. The buck stops with him. He has say. He has power. He has executive power. If he says, hey, Sean, run the damn ball, Sean Lewis will run the ball. So I believe that all of these pass plays, according to what Stan is saying, according to kind of what I thought, but you know me, I've been blaming Sean Lewis, but I've been slowly talking about Prime being held responsible and having a certain degree of accountability to what's going on. And I'm thinking to myself, I would say, Coach Prime, this is on you because you are the head coach of the team. I would say that. But my angst and my anger was still towards Sean Lewis. But if he's a yes man, then it makes sense that these plays are coming from Prime. Not that he's calling them or designing them. Prime is letting Sean Lewis know to pass first and run last. Running is a last resort. Running is not even an option. It's just something to do just to keep the naysayers to just kind of back off of them. To say, hey, at least they ran the ball. They ran the ball some. They don't care about the run. If from what I'm seeing, they would love to just pass the entire game without running the ball. And they kind of they think that those short passes are equivalent to running plays. They equate them on the same playing field. They consider them the same thing, and it's not the same thing. I've done tons of videos about that. A short pass for 2 yards is different from a running play with 2 yards. A running play has much more of an impact because you're wearing down the defensive line. I digress. Let me get back to this amazing comment that Stan made. So he says, in his opinion, the coaching staff are equivalent to yes men. They receive their orders overtly or covertly to keep the spotlight on Shador and Travis. As a result, the playbook isn't the objective, in my opinion. Wow. The playbook is not the objective. I'm here making video after video after video upset do some running plays, run the ball. You have Alton McCaskill. You have these running backs. Run the ball. Stan is saying it's not even about the playbook. You can yell and talk all you want about running the ball. It's about shining the spotlight on Travis and Shedeur. And as a matter of fact, it makes sense because I remember after one game, or I think during halftime or after a game, he mentioned Shedeur and Travis being like his two sons. I mean, of course, we know Shallow is his son too, but he looks at Travis as another son. And remember in that first game, I think against TCU, Coach Prime said something that's actually triggering me right now. He said, if Travis Hunter would have had those interceptions, the Heisman would be in his house right now. Or the Heisman would be at the quote unquote crib. So Prime was alluding to Travis winning the Heisman, promoting his players. There's nothing wrong with that. And coach promoting their players, that's great. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what Stan is saying is making sense. He's all for highlighting Travis Hunter and Shedeur. And I even made other videos about that. I talked about how there's more talent on the team other than Shedeur and Travis Hunter. And remember the game against, I think it was Stanford. Yeah, Stanford. Yeah, that was the game that Travis Hunter came back from the lacerated liver. And when he came back, I also made a video about that. I said this guy is force feeding the ball to Travis. He's just hell bent on looking at Travis. And then a lot of the times he missed other players who were open because he was so laser focused on throwing Travis Hunter the ball. So things are starting to make sense. And this comment by Stan is really eye-opening. In my opinion, I'm going to read it through without stopping so you guys can actually feel the essence of this comment. It just spoke to me. In my opinion, the showcasing of Shedeur for the Heisman is the issue. I was under the impression Coach Prime's objective in taking the CU gig was to get Shedeur the Heisman and the first pick in the draft. Wouldn't running the ball take away from the objective of why the Sanders family's there? In my opinion, the coaching staff are equivalent to yes men. They receive their orders overtly or covertly to keep the spotlight on Shedeur and Travis. As a result, the playbook isn't the objective, in my opinion. Great comment. So it's not even about winning. So essentially, when Prime is saying, I want to win now, you're not about winning. You're about padding your son's stats. You don't care about losing. If you lose and your son throws for 4 touchdowns and throws over 400 yards, I think Prime is okay. He talks about defense playing like hot garbage. Well, it's hard for your defense to play well when you're passing the ball on every down and then your team is 3 and out and the defense has to come back on the field, still winded from the last time they were on the field. So you can see how that can wear and tear on the defense. It's not the defense's fault. The offense affects the defense. Sometimes a good, well-oiled machine on the offensive side of the ball, when you're balanced and you're eating clock, that's the best friend for a defense because the defense can rest and it puts pressure on the opposing team's offense to score. If you're marching down the field with your running backs, mixing run and pass plays and play action, that's what a complete team is. It's called complementary football. All phases have to be used. You can't go out there and shotgun yourself to death and just pass all the damn time. But thank you, Stan, for this comment. Thank you so much. I'm going to post this, man. This is really good stuff. Thank you. And, one more thing before I leave. There was another person who made a comment. I don't have his comment up, but he mentioned something that was important too. He said that I forgot. I'm trying to remember what he said verbatim. Give me a second. I think he kind of mentioned what he said was kind of on the same line as what Stan is saying, that Coach Prime he's the coach of the team, and yeah. Somebody told me don't blame Sean Lewis. That it's not Sean Lewis's fault. That when Sean Lewis was at Kent State, he actually ran the ball 48% of the time. So he ran the ball nearly half of the time. I mean, he likes to pass too, but he ran the ball 48% of the time. So if Prime was truly not a micromanager, Sean Lewis would come to Colorado and bring in that same philosophy and mindset that he had at Kent State. Now, I understand you do have to coach to your personnel. And we know Shador is a phenomenal quarterback. But the running backs on the team aren't that bad where you don't run at all. Look at my video when I give the, look at the video I talked about the offensive line not being as bad as people are making them out to be. And I have the thumbnail of the running attempts of the running backs of the UCLA game. You'd be amazed that these running backs are actually gaining positive yardage, but Coach Prime refuses. So now you notice my language is even changing in this video. I'm not so much harping on Coach Lewis anymore. Now I'm coming at Prime now. I know people are not going to like that. And people love Prime. I love him too, but I have to be objective. What he's doing is hurting Colorado. You're trying to pad your son's stats at the expense of the team. You have great running backs. Cavassier Smoke, who left, I think he left Kentucky. Man, he's a beast. He was even projected to be an NFL running back last year. He left his school and came in through the portal, and you're not even running him. He's on special teams. He doesn't even exist. Alton McCaskill. Go look at his highlights at U of H when he was a freshman. Oh, he's a monster. You don't even use him. You don't even use him. It's sad. It's sad what Coach Prime is doing. But thank you, Stan, for this. It's really eye-opening because I didn't want to go there. I was reluctant, but you're saying what I should have said. You're saying what I was afraid to say. Because I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to believe it. But it's true. It's about stats. It's about his son. And then when his son gets beat down, then he can throw his offensive lineman under the bus. It's your fault, Prime. You're putting them in a position not to be successful by predicating your offense on their weakness. You're predicating your offense on passing 90% of the time towards an offensive line that pass blocking is not his strong suit. So your foundational premise for your team is already flawed, Coach Prime. It's already flawed. You coach to your personnel. They could run block. They don't even have to be great run blockers. They could be decent run blockers because the running backs on your team are actually great. You can have a very good team. Your team right now could be 7-2, or maybe 8-1, or maybe 9-1, or something to that effect. If you utilize your running game and kept opposing defenses off balance. Shador may not have the great numbers in terms of having the most yards passed in college. I saw a stat to that effect, but that number is going to be gone. There's like 4 or 5 more games left. The way they're playing, teams have your number, Coach Prime. You are so predictable right now. Your son's not going over 400 yards again. It's not happening. Teams are going to tee off, and they already know your offensive line is weak. They're going to just look at the tape of what other teams have done because you're very predictable. You're just throwing slants. You're doing the same play. It's easy to stop. It's easy work for the defense because you're not utilizing the full spectrum of your team. You've abandoned one side, so you're totally imbalanced. Your offense is imbalanced. You're putting too much weight on the shoulders of your son, and he's going to buckle and break. Trust me, if he continues to get hit the way he's getting hit, he's not going to last the season. And it's going to be your fault, Dad. You're not protecting your son. You're not protecting your son. You love your son. You're not protecting your son. Good comment, Stan. Good comment. Thank you for your comment. And occasionally, if I see a comment that stands out to me, I'm going to read it. We are a YouTube community, whether you have a video channel or not, but I felt compelled to read this. It really spoke to my heart. So thank you, Stan. All right, till we meet again, guys. Thank you for watching.